Are you ready to transform your normal e-commerce business into one that experiences exponential growth year after year using online advertising? If so, this show is for you. Me and my guests will show you how you too can grow your e-commerce business to 7 or even 8 figures so you can go on more luxurious vacations, spoil yourself and your family, say yes to more opportunities, and become financially free so you never have to worry about money again. Welcome to the E-commerce Performance Marketing Show. Welcome back to the Ecom Performance Marketing Show. I have another incredible guest for you today. I have Brad Costanzo. Now, Brad is a growth consultant. He really knows how to identify the little hinges that will swing big doors in business. And that's why he's hired by many companies and he's paid the big bucks to help them grow much faster with less risk. Also, on top of that, he is an investor. He's invested in many different companies. He was telling me about one of his companies that he'll probably talk about today as well, that he has just partnered up with. So he's got some exciting stuff on that front as well. And he's also the podcast host of an incredible podcast that I listened to quite some time ago when I was getting going in entrepreneurship. And it's a great show. He's maintained it over the years and it's just an incredible show, world class. Definitely check it out. It's Bacon Wrapped Business. And finally, he is the founder of Costanzo Marketing Group and Costanzo Capital. So he's got a lot to share today, and I'm really excited to have him here on the show. So Brad, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it. It's good to be here.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm totally honored. You know, I always like to start with a little bit of a backstory. So if you can maybe just tell us how you got started in this online business world, that would be great.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was 2007 where at the time, I'd had a career for the past 7 or so years in financial services. I was a financial advisor and I was working for Prudential Securities as a consultant to other financial advisors there at the same time. And then 2007, 2008, that whole time period was, you know, the last really huge recession that shook up the financial industry, and I got laid off. And it just so happened to be the same month that another friend of mine had recommended the 4-hour work week. And so it was a lucky coincidence that I started to discover this concept of internet marketing and digital marketing, et cetera, and selling information or other products and using a global workforce of outsourcing to help you out. Like all these were new concepts to me. And yeah. I was faced, here I was with the crossroads in November 2007. I had gotten laid off. And now I was like, all right, well, either I have to get my resume together and go try to get another job in the financial services industry during the worst financial services recession we've ever had. I mean, you know, recession in general was bad, but in financial services, like good luck. So, but I read this book and I got a little bit of a severance. I was like, all right, so well, I'm going to figure this out because this means I don't have to put my resume together and go schlep around asking for a job. So, but I had no idea what I was going to do. A buddy of mine who read the book at the same time, we created an information product in the dating advice space simply because we're like, well, we don't feel like experts in anything. I was like in my early 30s. I was like, I don't really feel like an expert in all this other stuff. I don't know what to teach, but we were both had been relatively familiar with. We had read Neil Strauss's book, The Game, all about pickup artists. And I knew that was a market. I was never actually a part of that community as a consumer, but I realized what it was. I was like, well, this might be an interesting lab, a marketing lab to just figure out how to sell information online. Or like selling dating advice. And it actually ends up being magic tricks to the dating advice crowd.
I know. I heard this on a podcast you were on recently.
Yeah. Like the long story short is I had also read The Game by Neil Strauss, and he talked about using magic tricks. And I remember Googling pickup artist magic tricks. I was like, well, what tricks did you do? That would be interesting. And then I had read the 4-hour work week, and he talks about the power of niche marketing. Like you may have something really, really small that you're interested in, and you think that there's not that many people, but you have a global audience now with the internet, and you can probably do something. And we're like, you know, this is just fun enough and low consequence enough. Like we don't have to be super experts in health, wealth, et cetera. Let's just try it out.
Yep.
And that, by the way, that attitude, I think, let me succeed because I never looked at this has to work and I have to make millions of dollars and only work 4 hours a week with this. Because I just looked at it as a laboratory. It's like, I'm just going to learn. Every time I set up a WordPress page or wrote a sales page, like that's a win because I'm developing my skill set.
Mm-hmm.
So we launched that
mindset.
product. Yeah, thanks. We launched that product. It did really well. Bought zero traffic. Didn't know anything about that. SEO was good because nobody else was selling what we were selling, but that many people weren't searching for what we were selling either.
Mm-hmm.
And so I built the entire business on the back of joint ventures and affiliates. And I had something nobody else was selling, and it complemented a lot of other people's products.
Yep.
So got it up to about $500,000 in sales of just like a $67 product with no continuity. And that was pretty cool for a few years. I started other projects. I kind of let that go because just mentally I was over it. And I started consulting, and then I sold that business. I had another little software business I won't go into, but, and I sold both of those businesses, not for FU money, but for just enough to kind of like prolong investing in my education and keeping me from, having to go get a job still.
Yeah.
But,
nice.
like a 6-figure exit, which made me feel good, but it wasn't like, retire.
Sure.
So then I started consulting, and I just started thinking, all right, well, I don't just want to go start a new info product. And I don't know what I would do if I did. But I knew at this point a lot of other marketers and product owners. So I just started to lend my expertise to them on a performance basis. So I would go to my friend Drew Canoli, who runs Organifi.com, a big health supplement. Granted, this was before he had Organifi. And I just said, hey, let me help you with some of these strategies. Like, I like the marketing stuff. So there's a lot of people who are like topic experts or whatnot, or they're product experts. I just like the marketing. I just thought it was really cool. Yeah. So I would take on projects, and they would usually work out well. And then I'd just leapfrog from client to client or multiple clients. And oftentimes I would go deep as a consultant as opposed to an agency. And I would get my hands really dirty, kind of being a fractional CMO, if you would.
Yep.
And, I've worked in everything from software to service to physical goods and e-commerce to information and coaching and personal brands. I've worked with the likes of people like Jesse Itzler, Frank Shamrock, 5-time UFC champion on his personal brand, and a handful of others. So it's really hard to kind of pigeonhole me into what do you do? A lot of my clients kind of think of me as a catalyst, because it's oftentimes one, lever or one hinge that swings a big door that I'm able to help find. And those are the things I enjoy doing the most, as well as kind of the strategic planning and understanding soup to nuts of a business. Because I understand marketing and sales, operations and not so much operations as well, but I understand the finance background, and I understand that and all it takes to kind of run a business well, which has then helped me on my, as an investor, when I'm looking for something to acquire or invest in, it helps me understand the nature of the entire business a little bit better. So that's kind of the quick and dirty.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's just, it's great because you have so many different like experiences, but it's all business, and there's something to be said of that because, it takes a lot of talent and skill to be able to market and pivot to different brands and different businesses, whether it's in consulting, whether it's in ownership. And that's what I like admire about what you just went over with your backstory, is that, you've had so much experience with all sorts of different things that you have had to market and sell, that gives you a lot of marketing intelligence because of the fact that you've done that so often with so many different products and types of businesses as well.
Right. And, it's not without its drawbacks. One of the things I still struggle with is I actually don't feel that I've mastered. Some people might argue that like comparatively I've mastered certain things, like I'm a really good copywriter, et cetera. But because I've jumped around, I've neglected the opportunity to master something, to just be like, let's say a world-class Facebook media buyer, or a world-class copywriter, world-class at any of those. But I kind of look at myself as kind of that, just more well-rounded, wide, like a specialized generalist, specialized in marketing, but a generalist. And it allows me to kind of zoom out and see the battlefield without having to get my hands too dirty. But as I said, it's not without its struggles, but I mean, every strength has a opposite side, but it's led to some pretty cool opportunities and ability to pivot really quickly.
Yeah. What's been like the coolest opportunity you've come across in the last few years that really like excited you?
So probably one of the things I'm doing right now. So I just recently took on a consulting client who then I acquired big percentage of the company because I really like what it's doing. And it's
Mm-hmm.
it's an ecom product. So it's mass market, it's scalable. It's a relatively new mechanism to the, and I'll even say what it is, but it's a new mechanism to what the current market is used to using, which produces its challenges as well as its opportunities. So the
Right.
company is called Vitamin Patch Club. And if you've ever seen a nicotine patch, you'll be familiar with the mechanism, which is, but this is with vitamins. So it's a
Yep.
little square patch you put on your body and it delivers different vitamins to you transdermally, as opposed to having to choke down a handful of vitamins. The benefits, and I'm not here to pitch, but I'm going to kind of circle back to one of the challenges.
Yep.
The benefits here are, it's better bioavailability and absorption. You don't have to, gag on vitamins. It's convenient. You throw on a patch. Like if I wear one on my hand, I don't have one on my hand right now, but I'll know that I'm taking my vitamins. Like, okay, this is kind of cool. And whenever I'm looking for a product to sell, I want that from a marketing angle, that unique mechanism, something that makes it stand out. Like, oh, wow, that's interesting.
Yep.
The challenging part is a unique mechanism. If it's a totally different way, like changing somebody's habit, if they're used to taking pills, getting them to used to taking patches is a challenge, right? Because there's that, I don't know if I trust the product. I don't know if I trust myself to do it. Will I like it? So it's not a slam dunk from a marketing angle, but this is the kind of the unique problems I like figuring out creatively and copy wise to go, okay, well, how can we make this so compelling that people, when they stumble across it on a Facebook ad, for instance, are like, wow, not only is that cool, I want to try that out.
Yeah.
So I like the business because it's scalable, it's consumer oriented. Everybody is the potential target market for the most part. And it's got that unique enough challenge where there's some competitors out there, but it's not saturated. So that's one of the things I like the most about it. And I've been really kind of putting my shoulder into this one to see what, we can do with it.
Yeah. I know that was the one that you talked about right before we went live here.
Yeah.
Right. So it's an incredible, unique mechanism that definitely can do very well. But like you said, it has its share of challenges in just being able to explain and educate people on how they work and proving that it works just as well as what people are so used to, which is pills. And I mean, I knock down like 9 pills every morning. It's ridiculous, So I mean, I would love just to slap a patch on and be like, okay, I'm good, let's go, instead of having to take down a bunch of pills. So that's awesome, man. I mean, what are some of the challenges you're tackling right now in that business that you wouldn't mind sharing with the audience?
Yeah.
Besides go ahead.
Okay. So number one is just really create. By the way, I've only been working with this company for the past maybe month and a half. So a lot of it is just discovery, like learning, and then I'm starting to the strategy aspect. But one of it is just really trying to understand, like, what is it going to take to convince somebody to just try it, right? Just give it a try. And get over that hump. Like some things work, but we haven't quite found anything that is that, like, bam, that works, really phenomenally well. Getting the cost per acquisition down to a rate that, that we don't lose money on the ROAS. One of the biggest challenges we're having right now is because the founder of the company's cost per acquisition is so high due to the page not converting or the site not converting as well as it could, right? Because, conversion rules like everything. If your conversion is good enough, traffic's not a problem, et cetera. Yep. So because of that, currently you have to buy a subscription. So he doesn't sell a single month order. And when he did this in the past, he's like, okay, well, you can buy a single month or you can subscribe and save. The problem is, for something new like this, most people are going to take well, let me try it out for a month, right? And there wasn't a good enough either nurture sequence, upsell sequence, or mechanism to encourage subscriptions.
Yep.
Fast.
Which is huge, because of the repeat business, customer lifetime value, obviously.
Yeah. So that's one of the things we're working on right now is like, okay, how can we re-enable a single month purchase? And even though, I mean, granted, with better conversion, the enabling a single month purchase, like we can probably bring the cost per acquisition down, but it's just this balancing act. Like we want to do it, but we don't want to go broke. Right.
Yeah.
So how can we increase our average order value while decreasing CPA? That's probably one of the biggest things. The other thing is trying to come up with a really, really compelling offer on this, because the way it works is currently there's 5 different SKUs. So 5 different patches, one for, different vitamins, et cetera. And it's trying to understand like what would be a really good singular offer. Cause I always like trying to bring some of the direct response information-based ideas over to Ecom to go, how can we just put together an irresistible offer that everybody buys, as opposed to a storefront where people just kind of come pick and choose what they want. And that's one of the things I'm trying to bring to this is we're going to have a really amazing video sales letter. We're going to have a really, really compelling offer or two. Bundles work, but there's a nuance to this. So these are all the things I've kind of been going through and thinking of, all right, well, what would get our CPA down? And actually one of the things, we're going to do a lot of native advertising and articles that are really kind of, education-based articles, because as you and your customers are probably aware, your listeners, there's those stages of market awareness. Like some people are, they're not even aware they have a problem. Some people are aware they have a problem, but they're not aware what the solution is. And then if they're aware what the solution is, for instance, like, okay, I know I don't have as much energy as I should, and it's probably vitamins. I know that. Okay, so I know the solution is probably vitamins and nutrients, but now they need to become product aware. So product aware would be, well, there's pills and there's powders and there's tincture, or there's like sublingual things, and there's I can go get an IV, drip, which is expensive and inconvenient. Or now it's like, oh wow, I didn't even know that these patches existed. So majority of the market is right there, trying to let them know, like, look, if you're into vitamins and nutrients, these patches exist. They're awesome. Try them out. And then the next side of that is to get them to understand that not only interest, but like, okay, wow, these work and they work better than what I'm doing. So there's a lot of content that we have to put out that is designed to educate but then trigger them to just try it. See if you like it. Like give us a shot. We think you'll never go back to swallowing again. And those are some of it. We've got a handful of other offers that we're probably gonna, like some innovative offers. I don't really want to talk about what those are because they're a little bit proprietary.
No, I understand. Yeah. No, I mean, I love what you're talking about, because I know that many people that are watching or listening to this, they have the same challenge in regards to trying to acquire customers profitably, from digital advertising sources. And, if you're in a supplement market, there's going to be obviously some competition there. What we've seen working in the agency, because we've helped many different supplement businesses over the past several years, is basically what you're getting at, which is having like a proper customer value journey that you're taking people through, where you're educating them based on where they're at, in identifying the problem and then identifying the product and whatnot. Basically, like we preach with the ARM5 formula that, you want to have like a good content marketing plan that basically does that. So this way you can then use that content to get traffic from, say, Facebook is, very targeted. You can get that traffic coming to your website from content, and you'll be able to acquire them very cheaply through low cost CPMs and CPCs, which as long as you have, good retargeting, good offers, good website.
And are you talking about running ads to content as opposed to just a sales page, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so that's one of the things we did last month is we finished out, I'd say we're about 80% there of finishing out the content plan, but then you stare at it and you go, damn it, now we got to get this content created. It doesn't create itself.
I know.
That's the next stage on that.
Yeah,
but I like that. Yeah. I'm glad you said that, because it does validate a big part of the strategy of what we're doing.
Totally.
But,
because
it takes a lot of touch points to get somebody off the fence and to go, okay, I want to try this for myself.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
It's fun. It's competitive. But yeah, I like the idea that it's got legs to it.
Yeah. So, you being an investor and obviously partnering up with this business, what are like criteria or questions you kind of go through when you're evaluating an opportunity?
Great question. I'm actually pulling, I have some of that up right here. So I've kind of got one of the things I did is I created, I guess, a simplified growth framework for myself, my clients, et cetera. And one of the first things I do is I'm going to look at, okay, I just pulled it up because I don't have it all memorized. But the first thing I do is I look at, well, okay, what are the 4 categories of sales processes that are in place or needed? And those are, you have to have a process to get attention, conversion, ideally ascension, and then retention. So I look at that, like, are you only getting traffic and selling one time and you're not ascending or retaining people? Well, that's an opportunity, or that's problems are opportunities. So those are the first things I look at. And then I look at the 8 critical links in the marketing chain. And there may be more, but this is what I've simplified it down to, which is understanding the market and competition, your avatar, your promise, or USP, if you would, right? What is your offer to the market? What is your offering or your offer ladder? Or, what is, if it's a ladder, if it's an ascension model, or do you have 200 different products? Do you have a way to generate leads? Do you have a way to sell those leads? Generate traffic? And then finally, last but definitely not least, is the user experience and journey. Is it well mapped out? Is it thought about? Is it like, are you really taking care of people? Yep. And so in each one of those, I'm going to look for critical things in order to find, like, I've got diagnostic questions that are kind of go and see if I can find the opportunities. Because first of all, if I'm an investor, I want to buy something that's undervalued compared to its potential.
Totally.
So, a real quick example, I just brought this up. I actually, on my diagnostic questions, I talk a lot more about than 8, because they go into a lot, they go a lot deeper. But for instance, let me just bring up one of them here. So let's look at competition, right? So here's a few questions I'll ask about competition. Well, do you know who they are? And then honestly, are they better than you? Are they cheaper than you? Are they faster? Are they more efficient? And get really honest with these things, because if you have competition, they're better, they're cheaper, they're faster, then I'm going to ask, okay, well, is there a way that we can demonstrate superiority, or we can carve out a blue ocean? For people who are familiar with the book Blue Ocean Strategy, can we do something that they're not? Can we zig while they're zagging, and kind of change the game? Can we make ourselves competition proof? Can we buy a competitor or a vendor or supplier? So maybe one of our competitors is legitimately better than us, but you'd be surprised at how many businesses are actually for sale if you make an offer. And that doesn't mean you have to come up with, millions of dollars in cash to do it. There's a lot of creative ways to acquire access to a business.
As our friend Roland Fraser teaches.
Absolutely. Yep. And I've acquired a couple businesses with his exact advice on this stuff. Other stuff would be, general brand and reputation, lead generation, follow-up. Like, are we following up? And I'll go through, there's probably about 20 of these categories of questions that I ask. And I don't ask every single question of every single client, but they're designed to unearth, once more, it's like an opportunity. One example is like, are you offering anything at a higher ticket, high ticket, high margin, or are you just selling it low ticket? And is there an opportunity to offer that? And if you were, what would that be? Or is there an opportunity to offer recurring revenue? And you might think there's not, but there's a lot of ways to create recurring revenue out of seemingly single purchases.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Now, these are great critical thinking questions when it comes to just, like, I'm sure you probably go through these, in your consulting, right? Because they sound very consultative, questions. But they really uncover, like you said, like the opportunities in a business and what action steps that someone can take to be able to improve their business and be able to grow their business further.
Right. I learned a long time ago to stop looking for answers and just look for better questions, because the questions are like the shovel. They just unearth the answers. Like, ask enough questions, you're going to find the answer to it. Yep. And oftentimes it just reveals itself. So that's one of the I think it's one of the reasons like some of my clients have called me like a catalyst, like, oh man, you kind of come in and I don't know what you did. It's like you didn't do anything, but all of a sudden the answer appeared. Which was, I probably just asked you some questions and you felt like, wow, it just magically appeared. Well, no, it's like, well, the right questions to ask. And
maybe you should put doctor right before Brad.
Doctor. And then, you know, one of the other little principles I've been trying to live by more and more often is that I don't have to have all the answers as long as I can access the people who do.
Yep.
And there's a difference in there between I don't have to know the answers if I know the people who do, because I may not know them, but if I can access what they know, and I might be able to access them through a YouTube video that they put out, or a book, or a mastermind, or an info product, or call them up and pay somebody $5,000 for an hour of their time coaching me, because, hey, you've got one answer to something that I really need a solution for.
Yep.
And I love it when clients have done that for me. Like my favorite clients are the, you know, what I call high ticket players, as opposed to just high ticket payer. Like a high ticket payer is just somebody who's going to, okay, I'll pay whatever. But a high ticket player is somebody, they may pay a good amount, but they can immediately go out and implement what I said and get the money, get the return on investment. And there's nothing more that I like more than just giving one piece of advice, having the client come back and go, that worked. And it made 50 times what I invested with you.
Yeah.
That obviously depends on the, you know, the size and capability of the client you're working with.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I've kind of like divested off of.
No, I mean, but you shared a bunch of different strategies and like good critical thinking questions that people should hear, or whether they're watching or listening to this, they should actually apply to their business. So, I mean, this is super valuable, you know,
I'm glad
for people to hear. So,
yeah, I think the hardest part is just for me is going through all of the, like the game plan of what we've got from traffic, conversion, offers, the, you know, the overall strategy, and going, oh man, there's so much. What do you do first? What do you do next? And then how do you make sure you've got the resources to manage it all?
You know, with that question you just said, because I bet a lot of people in the audience here, they probably have that same challenge where how does someone prioritize, and how do they evaluate what they should really focus on first, second, third, and so forth?
So I'll tell you how I do it. So I have got a spreadsheet that I use, and I call it my Ice Pirate spreadsheet, right? So I did not.
Where'd you come up with the name? You got to tell us that.
I shall. So I did not invent this. This is actually been used at the highest levels of both innovation and consulting. But I think I may have invented Ice Pirate. So there's two aspects of it. The first one, I'll actually start with Pirate. So they call it Pirate metrics, and it's because it's like R, right? So that stands for acquisition, activation. Hold on. I'm trying to think what it is. Revenue and retention. What was the other one? Activation. I cannot believe
activation, acquisition. Yeah, so we need another A, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the other one is. Actually, if you type in
Ascension? No.
Pirate metrics, it may be Ascension. Oh, you know what? It's AA. That's why it's AARRR. So it's acquisition, activation, retention, revenue, or referrals. So the question is, these are growth levers, right? So it's a very binary. This idea of what to do. Let's just say Facebook ads, right? The idea is I want to run Facebook ads. Does it help me acquire customers? Yes, or it either does or it doesn't. There's no maybe. Yes. Like if it works, yes. Does it help me activate customers? No. Does it help me retain customers? You could say yes if you're constantly putting in ads like retargeting ads for people who are customers, right? And you're using it as communication. So yes. Does it help me generate revenue? Yes. Does it help me generate referrals? Not really, right? Like it could, but not really. I'm going to say no.
Yep.
So whenever you come up with an idea, the first thing you're just going to rate these with is a 1 or a 0, right? Like, okay, so does it help me acquire, activate, retain, generate revenue or generate referrals. And then
Yep.
it creates a little score, right?
Yep.
Out of a total of 5. Now the next side is ICE, ICE. That stands for impact, confidence, and ease. So of this idea, let's just say Facebook ads, if it works, what impact will it have on our business on a scale from 1 to 10? And let's just say, well, if it works really well, I mean, it can have a 10, right? Okay, how much confidence do we have in it? And that could be either, I mean, you can decide on how much confidence do we have that we can do it well, or that confidence that it'll work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it can be confidence in our abilities or confidence in its abilities. But let's just say our confidence that it will work. Well, is it a consumer product with an easy to demonstrate thing, like say vitamin patches? Well, yes, it is. So I have a 10 out of 10 confidence that if it's done well, it'll work.
Yep.
Ease. Okay, so now like 1 to 10, how easy is it to do? So Facebook ads are not easy. I mean, they're easy in theory, but they're not easy to make work and to scale, et cetera. So I'm going to put, I mean, it kind of depends on this, but probably a max of 5, because you know, it's a never-ending battle against the Facebook gods to make
Right.
this crap work.
Things
So,
change all the
however,
time.
yeah, now, and you know, in my spreadsheet, I've got there's a formula in here that does a weighted average, et cetera. It's just kind of a fun little spreadsheet where it says, okay, this idea combined with the next idea, let's say I've got 10 different ideas on here. Each one of them gets a total score, like an Ice Pirate score. Right. So all I do is I sort by the highest score, because the one with the highest score, it's tripping the most growth levers with the activation, acquisition, et cetera. And it's got the highest score as far as how much impact it'll have with the degree of confidence and the ease of doing it. And it'll tell you exactly what you should do now, next, never, someday. So what I like to do when I'm working with my clients or even just my own partners or my own companies is come up with all the ideas, put it through my Ice Pirate evaluation, and just see, okay, well, let's do this now. Let's do this next. And that's one of the ways it helps cure overwhelm, if you would.
Yeah, that's great.
So I'm actually in the process, because just the past week I was going through the game plan for the company I was just talking about. And I'm about to this week finish out my evaluation now that we've got all the ideas to see where it goes.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, it's funny. I was laughing hearing that because I don't have a cool name like you do, you know, Ice Pirate, you know, spreadsheet, but I have the daily priority, you know, sheet, which is very similar, has very similar like metrics that I need to evaluate. So this way I can compare and contrast and prioritize, and whoever, you know, whatever idea or project scores the most, obviously I looked at that when it comes to like what I'm going to implement next or what I'm going to delegate next to the team, you know. But it's just great how great minds think alike, basically, you know, and also someone else recently, I can't remember who it was, but someone else recently I connected with said that they had a similar kind of process, like a spreadsheet that they use as well to be able to really identify like what to work on next. And it's great that we all kind of do something similar.
Yeah.
Yep. Actually, it was Ollie Bilson. That's who it was. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know who.
Yeah. So, well, cool. Well, I want to be very respectful of your time. I know we're getting kind of close to the end here. So for this last part of the episode, we just go through something really fun to kind of wrap things up. It's a bonus round where I ask you 4 different questions and you answer each question with only one word.
Hit me. One word.
Okay. One word. Yep. What caused your biggest e-com success to date?
Persistence.
Okay. What advice do you have for other e-com business owners?
One word. How about shoot?
I wish I had the Jeopardy music playing right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's I would probably have to say, because there's so many things that go into it. It's, I'd say thinking. I wish I could and I want to qualify that by just saying that I don't think people put enough thought into what they're doing and why they're doing it, because they oftentimes just get so excited about, oh, I want to be an e-com entrepreneur and I want to do this. And I heard somebody else, some guy selling a course saying, all you got to do is drop ship a bunch of crappy products from China and do this, or I'm just going to create something. Like, stop and think it through, and really examine it, because, there's a whole lot of roadblocks and a whole lot of things that'll cause you to stumble. And I've been there, because I started my first ecom business. It failed because I didn't finish thinking out the roadblocks, and it would have saved me a year of my time.
What was the roadblock at that point in time that really maybe eclipsed the business, if you might ask?
It was so it was a private label coffee brand, and it was the unit economics. The cost of acquisition was way too high, and my profit margin was too low, because with coffee, like, I had a decent amount of cost. Now, granted, it was almost like roast and ship on demand, so I didn't have to buy a bunch of inventory. So, but that made my cost of goods sold like $9, and I was selling a bag for $18. That's an expensive bag of coffee, and a 2x markup in ecom is not high enough unless you're already got a huge audience, which I didn't have. And I fell in love with the brand, and I was like, oh, this will be cool. And then I started selling it. I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm going to go broke. I'm burning through money, because I didn't think through, how are you actually going to operate with a 2x markup in ecom?
Yeah. Well, and it's unfortunate, obviously, that happened, but it did teach you, though, that if you're going into ecom, that you want to make sure you have like a very wide margin to play with, because now you know what all goes into, ecom when it comes to all the costs that you don't think of beyond just the actual product itself, right? Because if you didn't go through that lesson, you wouldn't have discovered that, it sounds like.
Correct.
Yeah. So it just goes back to how, and this is just a good teaching point for the audience, that you just want to just move forward and just make mistakes and fail, and then learn, and then move forward, and just keep doing that, because it's so valuable when you get those lessons as fast as possible.
Yep. I agree.
Yep. How would you describe yourself in one word?
Optimistic.
Nice. Okay. And then what do you see in your future?
Growth.
Nice. Okay. Good deal. Well, Brad, it's been my honor and my pleasure to have you here on the show. How can the audience follow up on this episode, follow you, get to know you, possibly even hire you as a consultant to help them with their company? Like, what are the best next steps for someone to take?
Well, they can email me directly, brad@bradcostanzo.com. If you want to throw that in the show notes, so they don't have to.
Yep, you got it.
How the hell do you spell Costanzo? Or, obviously go to bradcostanzo.com. My podcast is baconwrappedbusiness.com. And those are two great places to just kind of jump off and see everything that I'm doing. And feel free to, get a hold of me and see if you have any nuts I can help you crack.
Yeah, sounds great. Well, hey, Brad, like I said, it was definitely my pleasure. Thank you so much for being on the show. It was fun connecting, and it's too bad we didn't connect in person at Traffic and Conversion Summit, but I guess there's next year now.
I guess so, yeah.
Oh, geez, it's not even spring, but anyway. Oh, well, what can you do? All you can do is just adapt and overcome and keep moving forward.
Bingo.
Yep, awesome. Well, thanks for being on the show. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into the e-commerce performance marketing show. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment with a timestamp of your favorite part and share it with a friend. Until our next episode, here's to you and the success of your e-commerce business.